Wait, before you skip ahead. This is Enclave Emily, and I just want to leave a quick message saying that this is a rant from my review of the Fallout show, specifically covering the Vault Tech meeting. If you want to see the full review, the link is going to be in the description. And I do incentivize that you do, because I do reference some things in this rant that were explained in previous parts of the review. But I just wanted to separate this rant into its own video, because I'm really proud of it. It's entirely unscripted, and there are some minor editing issues, but nothing that actually kills the experience. I'm pretty proud of this rant myself, and I think I explain in good enough detail why the whole Vault-Tec meeting scene in episode 8 of the Fallout show is terrible. But yeah, just keep in mind, it's unscripted, and the file size of the review was so massive that I couldn't correct some things, but yeah, I hope you enjoy. And the filter that you see on screen from time to time, by the way, is me trying to protect against copyright claims. Anyway, enjoy. Where Cooper Howard is dropping off Barbara at the Vault-Tec office. Barbara is very weirded out by the fact that her Pip-Boy is, as she states, transmitting something to somewhere. And instead of just disabling her Pip-Boy given that she's about to go into a very important meeting, she just sticks with it. Cooper, who wants to listen in on whatever conversation they're going to have, goes into the building, meets pre-war Betty, who's just a secretary, I guess she got promoted at some point, I don't know, and prepares to listen in on the conversation, but I skipped the scene, because this show starts hopping around back and forth a lot this episode. So to deal with that, we'll handle the pre-war segment first. Because if we didn't, I'd be referring to scene changes literally every 20 seconds. So Cooper is listening in on a conversation that Barbara is a part of, and Bud is there as well. In this meeting are a bunch of CEOs of big corporations, Big Mountain, Repcon, and fuck you, that's not Robert House. It is kind of nice that Robert House has one quip that's actually Robert House-esque. And that is when Robert House says that one of them is so incompetent they could lose money running a casino. Anyway, the meeting is a generic capitalism evil meeting where they're discussing how peace talks between China and America set them back on their goals. This is despite the fact that we already know that a lot of the CEOs of these companies in the games are supposed to not want a war to happen, Vault-Tec being the one excluded. Because of course they had to bastardize some of the most recognizable names in Fallout, just for the sake of their capitalism evil message. Anyway, they actually start humoring the idea of what it would be like after the end of the world, and how they could profit from it. And the CEO of West-Tec actually makes a very good point that people could just very much still be alive after the people in the vaults come out. Also putting forth the idea that a lot of the people who survive might just be Stone Age creatures, who will kill anyone on sight. To which Bud responds with, time is the ultimate apex predator. No, Bud. Time is effectively a guarantee that society will begin to reorganize and that this plan would fail fucking immediately. Which it did, because a bunch of countries were fucking created while your people were still in a vault. Oh no, sorry, I forgot. This show retconned it, and now NCR is just Shady Sands, which is a tiny village in the Boneyard. And of course, if the dumb fucking messaging of these writers wasn't obvious enough, Bud has to say that time is how they'll win the great game of capitalism. This, thankfully, starts to be questioned by every single CEO, saying that he's not addressing any of the points and that this is downright retarded. Barbara interjects, and for a moment it feels like this show's gonna actually have some good writing, until you realize she's actually defending the idea of the vaults continuing, which means that, of course, she's still on board with the war continuing, to the point where everybody else gets nuked, even though she has an active fucking incentive not to want that to be the case. Her daughter Janie, which she brings up in this exact scene, and I want you to remember this for just a moment, she says that they have hundreds of vaults that each of the CEOs can claim as their own because the spirit of competition is what made their companies great. Just keep that in mind, because I feel like I'm about to explode like a fucking hydrogen bomb. This idea of each CEO being able to claim dozens of vaults as their own is apparently enough to get them all on board with the idea of vaults, and they start proposing experiments which make absolutely no fucking sense. The CEO of Big Mountain, which is supposed to be a scientist's paradise, suggests a vault where people compete to survive inside it, which is just dumb, and feels like whoever wrote this just read the summary of the summary of the summary to what Big Mountain was supposed to be. Repcon, the company that has a history of wanting space exploration and space science, decides that it's a good idea for an experiment in a vault where a robot that delivers milk to the front door runs the vault because I don't fucking know. And a bunch of other stupid shit that shows the writers' lack of creativity is on display. The show also decides to retcon the whole point of super mutants existing, and shows a moment where the CEO of West-Tec is shown to be the one who came up with the idea of the development of super mutants. Using illegal immigrants, of course, because haha, American capitalism evil isn't modern political reference really smart, I guess. Because of course they just had to throw in that retcon in there. But in case you don't know, the Super Mutant Project was a project by the American government to create super soldiers. Which, by the way, is exactly how the nuclear war started out, because the American government decided to start manufacturing a version of it, and China retaliated with nuclear warheads before they could have a biochemical weapon used on them. They just keep throwing retcon after retcon after retcon in single sentences, and then that's when Robert fucking House, CEO of Robco, says something that is so fucking fundamentally against who he is as a character that I can't help but take it as an insult. Because it defeats the whole point as to why he's even a player in Fallout New Vegas and why Fallout New Vegas even exists. Listen to this shit.
It's a fun idea. There's a lot of earning potential with the end of the world. But we're talking about making a significant investment based on a hypothetical.
You scum-sucking, paper-shuffling fucking retard, what the fuck? In case you don't know, Robert House was so fundamentally opposed to a nuclear conflict that he built giant laser cannons and hacked the Chinese systems to disable nuclear warheads and protect the city of Vegas. He was so dedicated to this that he put himself in a life preservation chamber and effectively became the defense system of New Vegas, while still being alive in said life preservation chamber. Robert House is a pragmatic man that only really cares about making money and making Vegas shine, and wants to actively avoid any conflict whatsoever to protect the light of Vegas. His defenses to protect against the nuclear holocaust were so strong that we see in Fallout New Vegas that Raul Terradas, a man from Mexico City, could see the lasers coming out of Vegas from Mexico City. And yet, now we're supposed to believe that Robert Edwin House, CEO of Robco, is okay with the world ending because of evil capitalism, and that we're supposed to believe that Robert House thinks that there's a lot of money to be made in the end of the world. How anyone takes this shit seriously is fucking ridiculous. There is no possibility to make money in the end of the world because the money is gone. The customers are gone. The resources are gone. A lot of the services a lot of people enjoy nowadays are gone. You can't sell people Funko Pops and a gaming console and a big flat screen TV in the end of the world if that consumer is more concerned about not dying from radioactive poisoning, you fucking idiots. This is a Reddit communist's understanding of what capitalism is. Also, I have to ask, if Robert House is in the meeting where they're discussing the end of the fucking world, then how the hell did Robert House fuck up the defense of New Vegas by 20 hours? Robert House's plan relied on getting the platinum chip, which has an upgraded OS before the nuclear bombs dropped, so he could defend Vegas with his upgraded system. What, did he just forget to fucking look at his calendar or something? Oh, but that's okay, because it was the Chinese that dropped the nuclear bombs, not Vault-Tec. They wouldn't retcon that now, would they? Barbara opens up that black hole of a mouth she has again, and says that the end of the world is an opportunity because then there'll be no one to fight except each other, you fucking idiot. The spirit of competition is what made these companies great, yet here they are talking about how there will be no competition when the entire point of this experiment is that they will compete with one another. Vault-Tec will compete with House, House will compete with Big Mountain, Big Mountain will compete with Repcon, Repcon will compete with West-Tec, and then she says that they'll drop the bombs themselves. So yes, lovely, they just retconned every single fucking Fallout game. Because Fallout, in case you haven't realized it this entire fucking time, is about dealing with the fallout of the consequences of humanity's actions. So the whole point as to why the Brotherhood of Steel, that faction that Bethesda really fucking loves, exists, the whole point of the franchise and its themes, all gone. All fucking gone, because these writers want to spit on the franchise that was infinitely better written than anything they could come up with, and also partially because they wanted to shove their stupid fucking modern politics into it, and because they don't understand anything they're actually writing. And of course, the thrice lobotomized seals that defend this show think, oh, it's a critique of capitalism. That's actually really in line with the games. Because they're too fucking brain rotten to understand these very simple concepts. Because they can't leave their stupid modern politics aside for a second and think of things. Critiquing capitalism is actually very fucking easy, and the writing of this show makes it look outright impossible. Because this show is so dumb, the writers who want to critique capitalism want me to believe that the capitalists want the capital to be gone. How the fuck is anyone defending this shit? How the fuck does anyone think this is actually appropriate? Oh, but it gets worse, viewer, it gets worse, because then Barbara opens that black chasm of a mouth of hers and says,
and we have war. And war, well, War never changes.
Wait, I didn't hear that right. I must have heard that wrong. What the fuck did she just say?
And war, well, war never changes.
Oh, I can't believe it. I feel like I'm going fucking insane here. Let me explain this to the tourists pretending to actually play Fallout. The point of the line, war never changes, is to say that humanity will always find a reason to start killing one another. War never changes because it's in the human fucking DNA to seek conflict. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons communism is so fucking backwards. But the writers of this atrocity had no fucking clue as to what this line meant, because it's said by a person who is advertising an idea which inherently means conflict. She says she wants war to end because she wants to create a true monopoly, but that monopoly includes a bunch of companies which compete with each other. A competition which she incentivizes, except instead of being done by countries, it will now be done by companies. And don't give me that shit of, well, that's obvious, it's supposed to be fucked up, because none of the characters in this fucking room should be going along with this. And all of them have direct incentives to not go along with it. Barbara in particular, because all of these guys have just the financial incentive. Barbara has the financial and the humanitarian incentive. No, they just put this here to spit in the face of Fallout fans. How could they fuck up the ghouls? How could they fuck up the vaults? How could they fuck up where Shady Sands is? How could they fuck up where the Cathedral and Vault 33 are? How could they fuck up the Brotherhood? How could they fuck up what the people of Shady Sands were like? How could they fuck up the point of the vaults? How could they rip off and retcon 2 games? How could they fuck up the years to the point where it retcons another game? The answer is actually very simple. They didn't. They didn't fuck up the chalkboard and the dates. They didn't fuck up the humor. They didn't fuck up the locations. They didn't accidentally rip off 2 games. They didn't fuck anything else up. This was deliberate. I'd be willing to accept it if they did it once or twice, but this entire show has been a sequence of fuck-ups. Or supposed fuck-ups. Supposed fuck-ups which just so happened to erase old Fallout and spit on everything that old Fallout was, and why people enjoyed it. They wanted to appropriate Fallout for their own means, so they wiped the slate clean, which just so happens to be something that is said and referred to multiple times in this show, wiping the slate clean. They don't want a post-apocalypse, they want a post-apocalypse, where everything is destroyed and stays destroyed, which, by the way, is something the writers admit to. Not that I give a shit about interviews, because it was obvious enough from the show itself. But Enclave Emily, just turn your brain off. No, motherfucker, I will not turn my brain off when one of my favorite franchises is being trampled and being forced to birth piranha fish that eat it. And I just need to remind you all, again, if you enjoyed this show, if you had fun with it, fine, but if you're defending this shit on a fundamental level, you are lobotomized. You have a black hole in that thick titanium fucking skull of yours. You are denser than a neutron star if you believe in good faith that this show was actually faithful to the franchise, and you are a goddamn disgusting shill if you're actually defending this crap. How is it that a bunch of reviewers that make their money criticizing these exact practices being done to other franchises and other shows suddenly be okay with this being done to the Fallout franchise? I'll tell you why. Because they're shills. It's part of their act. They sell themselves to you as people who just want to tell the truth, to call out bad practices, but then they will excuse those very same bad practices if it so goddamn well fucking suits them. And I'm not even done with this fucking episode yet. But yeah, that was it. What did you think of it? Did I do a good job? Did I not do a good job? You tell me in the comments. I do read all of them. Right now, I am away, unable to produce videos and recovering from my surgeries at the hospital. So I hope this little tidbit entertained you, even if just for a bit. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.